guess what?
What?
They are giving away another free main character pilot. But they aren't giving away any resources to fully upgrade the main character like the half anniversary event. They could have at least give us enough to get him to rank 9, but whatever. At least he's
fantastic.
By the way, I'm going to call him Mario for the rest of this video, even though you could use the female version, Maya.
It's just easier that way.
This Mario is the complete opposite of the first Mario that we got. Instead of a rank 4 Annihilator pilot that is part of the Black Knights and Ashford faction, this one is a rank 4 defensive pilot that is part of the Special Corps and Britannia military faction. When I first went over the intro to the game, which is now over a year ago, one of my observations is that Mario would work for both factions of the story, since it shows him wearing both uniforms, and that's what happened.
And now for something completely different.
Every 10 seconds, for 10 seconds, Mario reduces the damage taken by 10 times.
And
if the enemies are part of the Black Knights faction, the reduction is increased by 0.737 times. So unlike the first Mario, this one reduces damage and works well against the Black Knights. This is another example of how the pilots are polar opposites of each other. His second ability involves the Nightmare Frame skill gauge. It
increases
by 87.5% at the start of the battle, and then will increase by 52.5% during the battle. So you'll be using his Nightmare Frame skill
again and again. And again and again.
Mario,
exactly what the doctor ordered.
He's an easily accessible defensive pilot for the Britannian faction. Before him,
you didn't have
and the option.
Just like Aldrin and now Colin, he has high melee attack power for a defensive pilot, which makes you wonder why they made him a defensive pilot to begin with. At least his ability relates to his type. Since he's part of the Special Corps, you could use Lloyd to lower his placement cost or Schneisel to do the same. And the other Britannian support pilots will work with him as well. There's just nice symmetry here.
There's just one problem.
You can't summon this character from the banner.
Therefore,
you have to purchase generic rank 4 lockets to fully level him up.
That's just annoying.
Is it worth it?
Still debatable.
For the faction wars?
Absolutely.
And if you lack a powerful defensive pilot. Just like the half anniversary event where they gave away a Sarlon custom, they gave us another Nightmare Frame called the Androdite. And just like the Sarlon custom, this Nightmare Frame comes with both weapons unlocked.
No extra charge.
I love that this Nightmare Frame reminds me of an actual knight in armor, both in design and how it moves. Let's start with the melee weapon. It has high attack power for a Nightmare Frame with high defense, which reminds me of the Byakugan, the Gurren Mark II, the Gwaine, or the Mordred. Don't worry, I'll talk about those new Nightmare Frame weapons
later.
This special deals 3.75 times your attack,
And on top of all that,
deals 8,000 damage. I feel like every new Nightmare Frame weapon has to deal that kind of extra damage just to
keep up
with the harder challenges. This Nightmare Frame is the first one with the ability to block 2 units instead of 1.
Nice.
So it's designed for defensive pilots and of course the new Mario pilot.
obviously.
Then we have the remote weapon, the Varus Cannon, whose range is
unique.
It covers every area
Around you.
This weapon also has a great combination of defensive and attack stance, even rivaling that of the Gwaine or the Mordred.
Impressive.
The skill deals 3.7 times your attack to 3 enemies. That's
Pretty standard procedure.
at this point. His Nightmare Frame is
Too specific.
if you need to cover a specific corner in the battlefield, then use it. But
90%
of the time, I would rather just use something like the Sarlon Custom or the Lancelot to cover enemies directly in front of me, or the Mordred, the Sarlon Air Cavalry, the Gwaine to hit enemies from all directions by simply switching their direction because they have a flow unit. When testing this weapon, I was becoming frustrated with the inability to hit certain targets, and usually I just wish it was a normal Lancelot. The other problem is, while it has nice range, it doesn't attack that many enemies at the same time when compared to the Mordred or the Gwaine, so you can't cover as much ground
as you would think.
It's great for healers, especially if your team are kind of close to each other.
In case it wasn't obvious.
I prefer the melee weapon. It'll come in handy for
Multiple
situations. If you want this pilot and the new Nightmare Frame, make sure to complete the main story of Lost Stories Part 1.5 Chapter 1. Since it's not a limited character or Nightmare Frame,
You don't have to rush.
this first year anniversary has been full of so many brand new Nightmare Frames and pilots. If you're unsure about some of the new characters, then check out this video right here where I go through the new Colin, Lelouch, and Nagisa.